Thank you everyone for joining and Yali Madad. Let's begin and continue from where we left off yesterday. We had 3 questions and we are answering all 3 questions together, but especially the question regarding the need of the Imam and the Faramin of the Imam of the time. So our focus would be that question today. And inshallah, then if there are any other questions, then we will talk about that. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya Maulay Mehrban. Ya Maulay Mehrban. Ya Maulay Mehrban. Madad farma. Ya Maulay Mehrban. Madad farma. Madad farma. Ya Maulay Mehrban. मदद फरमा मदद फरमा नूर मौलाना शाह रहीम अल सैनी हाजिर इमाम या मौला तौफीक ताहिद हिम्मत व यारी मौला तौफीक ताहिद हिम्मत व यारी मौला या मौलाए मेहरबान मदद फरमा मदद फरमा Imam Aka Sultan Muhammad Shah Salawatullah Alaihi, may our soul be sacrificed to the Imam. In one of his Faramin, talks about the need of the Imam in all time and need of the Faramin in all time. One Farman which is similar in sound and words and gist, which is very common amongst Shah Rahim, Imam of the time, Shah Karim, and Shah Sultan Muhammad Shah. All 3 Imams have spoken about in their Faramin the need of the Imam, as we learned yesterday, that when we say need of the Imam, meaning the need of the guidance in the time, in every time. It is not that Imam and Imamat is the new phenomena which begins with Mullah Ali. Matter of fact, there were Imams before Adam, with Adam, and after Adam. There were Imams before Prophet Muhammad, with Prophet Muhammad, and after Prophet Muhammad. May peace be upon him and all the Aimai Taireen. Because that is the natural law, the habit of Allah, that He continues to guide. And one of the questions that we had received was, what was the reason when in one hand we say, the habit of Allah does not change, and then we say that after the Nabuwat and the end of the Nabuwat, Imamat started. That sounds like a change to me. And of course, that sounds like a change to the person who's asking question. Allah guides the humanity always and always and always by His Nur. We're going to take a very, very physical example of the light. As you can see, in daytime, the source of the light is sun. At nighttime, the source of the light is moon and the stars. In the daytime, you can just open your window or the door to have a light. At nighttime, you can turn on your lights at home. May those be lamps or electric. But what remains the same is the light. The source may be a lamp, an electric light bulb, or opening your window and let the light in. Source changed, light did not change. Just like that, the sun, the moon, and the stars are the example of, in the time of Nabuwat, sun was the example of the Natikin, moon was the example of the other messengers or Imam-i, and the star was the example of Hujatan, peace. In the time of Imamat, the example of the sun is the Imam, example of the moon is the Hujatan, Pir, and the example of the stars are Dais. The source of the light may look different, but the light itself, the nur, the guidance, remains the same. Another example we can take, you may receive in today's fast-moving technological world a message through your email, a message through your text, or message through your voicemail. The sources, the mode of the message may change, but the message remains the same. Just like that, at the end of the Nabuwat and the beginning of the Imamat, the period of the Nabuwat and period of the Imamat, the Nur, the light, the guidance remains the same. But it was necessary that guidance remains amongst the humanity so they may receive a continued guidance according to the time and the place. If that was not the case, Huzur sallallahu alaihi wasallam would not have declared Mawla Ali to be the Mawla, the Imam, the source, of guidance after him. Neither would Allah would have pushed on that idea. Matter of fact, he said, O Rasul, if you do not deliver this final message of mine, then it would be like you have not delivered any message. If that means that 22, 23 years of Nabuwat and the revelation, the surahs and the ayat of the book would be null and voided, God forbid, if he had not delivered the final message of Allah. And that was the announcement and the appointment of Mawla Ali on the seat of the Imamat. That part shows how important the Ghadir Qawm event and the announcement and the appointment of the Mawla Ali was. That without that entire process and entire message would be incomplete, matter of fact, null and voided. And if that is the case, those who did not understand the final message would be like they did not understand any of the message given during those 22 years. Because all of those messages were for the purpose of that final message. And we don't have to look too far. And we do not have to start or end with Prophet Muhammad and Mawla Ali. May peace be upon them. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. With every natik, that was the message. Visibly or not visibly, return or not return. For example, Mawlana Hunayd before Adam, an Imam. Mawlana Shish after Adam, an Imam. Adam would not have appointed Shish after him if that was not the case, meaning if the message was given by the Adam and if that was sufficient enough, then none other prophets and none imams would be required. But you can see this habit of Allah have not changed. And what is that habit? That He will always guide. And this is not just a habit, that's a promise of Allah to the human. But when human misunderstand, do not understand, then by their free will, they choose a path of guidance or choose and live in the past. Now imagine that at the time of Adam and after the Adam, if the humanity would have said that Allah had chosen a Khalifa, a vicegerent, on the earth, the Adam, and therefore we do not need any other guide after him. Where would we be? And where would humanity be today? And you can see some of the mazahib, some of the religion, they stayed in between Adam and Hazrat Noah. And you can see what happened to them and their concept of religion. And how far back and how old their beliefs are. It's not that they do not believe in God. Maybe they believe in God and the name of the God be a statue or a idol named whatever the name is. Or they remain in the past with one ideology taught thousands of years ago. But then they self refuse to accept any fresh and new guidance. And you can see that again and again, not only with the 6 supreme messengers, Natikin, from Adam to Khatam, but you will find the same when there were multiple messengers alongside the Natikin. For example, Hazrat Zakaria, Hazrat Yahya, and Hazrat Isa. Or for example, Hazrat Ibrahim, Hazrat Ismail, and Hazrat Isaac. But guidance always remained and continued. People accepted or not accepted. That free will was left to the humanity. And the free will was left to the believers. Because they were all believers at one time or the other. And this is the point I wanted to draw. Even the oldest religion in the world, the Hinduism, can we safely say that they did believe in the guidance at the one time or the other? All the way back to the Ram and Krishna, over 6,000 years ago. If the answer is yes, that tells us that they did believe in one time that a new, fresh, and current guidance is required, and therefore they followed Ram and Krishna after the Adam. But then they did not accept the Adam-e-Dom, Hazrat Noah alayhi salam, and his message. And what did they say? What we have by the book and by the guide and the guidance is good enough for us, and we do not need any other human to guide us. And they stayed back. And they stayed back. And after 6,000 plus years, now they may have 360 different gods. Because there was no one there to guide them on the Tawheed, on the oneness of God. There was no one there. Let's come to the time of Ibrahim, and he was called the one who taught the Tawheed, the oneness of God. And if we look at the people of the Ibrahim and those who did follow on the path of Musa and Hazrat Isa. But then they started to talk about my God and your God. Remember, these were the very people of the Tawheed. And Imam have talked about these three major religion, the one who believes in the oneness of God. On the one side, they do say that we believe in one God. But then they say, my God, and they say, your God. Meaning they are rejecting their own belief by saying, my God and your God. Or they say, the God of Musa, we believe in. Others say, God of Isa, we believe in. And others say, the God of Muhammad, we believe in. There is no other God than one. There is no other God than one. Kullu wallahu ahad. Say. That's the fundamental principle of Tawheed. Say. Allah is one. That's the number one lesson. Say, Allah is one. So when I use the number one lesson, that means, is there a number two lesson? Absolutely yes. And that is that there is no God but the God who is Al-Hayyul Qayyum, the living and the present. And is there a third lesson? Yes, absolutely. He is the first and he is the last. He is the present, apparent, and he is the hidden, the batin. But the Nur is one. The same soul, the Nur which was breathed into Adam, continued Nuran ala Nur. So you see where I'm going with that. Again, we are back to the concept of Nuran ala Nur. One after the other. And when we say one after the other, that is never stopping. And this verse even though it's only 1400 years old, will take you back to the Adam and will take you forward to the Qaim and the Qiyamah. The principle of Nurun ala Nur, never ending Nur, never ending guidance. And that is the habit of Allah, and that's the promise of Allah. Otherwise, emphasis would not be Ya Rasul, give the message. And if you do not do that, you have not fulfilled your message, your obligation. And with Mullah Ali, the Imamat apparently began on the 6th period and will continue till the time of Qiyamah. Nuran ala Nur. Now, the Farman of the Sultan Muhammad Shah, where we started our conversation. Because the question is the need of the Imam and need of the Farman, new Farman, fresh Farman, continued Farman. Need of the Imam of the time and need of the Faramin. Please recite the Holy Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Imam Aka Sultan Muhammad Shah says, when Mullah Murtaza Ali physically left this world, he entrusted the throne of the Imamat to Imam Hussain. When Mullah Ali left, he trusted the throne of the Imamat to Imam Hussain. In this way, Imams have appointed their successors one after the other on the throne of Imamat in order to guide the people to the rope, people to the truth path, Sirat al-Mustaqim of religion. If the world were to go on without Imam, Mullah Murtaza Ali would not have appointed his successor in his time. If the book of Quran was sufficient, he would not have appointed his successor and would have ended the Imamat with himself. And then Mullah goes further. From time to time, as the circumstances changes, some new things comes up and fresh issues arise. At different times, new difficulties crop up. The world also changes. The condition of the world prevailing thousands of years ago were different that the present times and will radically change in the years to come. There have always been great transformation in the world. It is on account of this that Imam of the time, look at the word, Imam of the time, is always present to guide you according to the changed time. He commands you to act in a way that suits the current times. My Farman in years to come will be quite different from the present ones. Now this line, my Farmans will be different years to come, has two meanings. One, even within his own lifetime, in the 72 years of Imamat, the Farman changed according to the time and place. According to the time and place. So same Imam gives a Farman, and the same Imam gives another Farman, which overrides and voids the previous Farman. Second meaning of that is that my Farman will change according to the time and place with the Imam, for example, from Shah Sultan to Shah Karim and to Shah Rahim al-Husseini, Hazir Imam Salawatullah alayhi. So Farmans will be different from the present ones. The whole world will change. Whole world will change. I mean, think about when Sultan Muhammad Shah sat on the seat, the throne of the Imamat. What time that was? The time of darkness. Look at where Shah Karim was when he took the Imamat. The time of atomic world. Look at where Shah Rahim is at the time he have taken the throne. Time of the technological world and artificial intelligence. So what did Imam says? And this Farman is over 115-year-old. The world will change, and therefore you should obey the Farmans of the Imam of the time. Again and again. Farman of the Imam of the time. As the time changes, so do the Farmans change. This Farman was given on 1908, 115 years ago, almost 120 years ago.
As you search, sorry to interrupt, but should we be seeing the Vermont on the screen? Because I don't
If
see
you
the text.
like, I can share. I just have my rough note. I did not make any PDF of it.
Okay, no, sorry. I thought maybe we were not seeing it, but that's okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, you can see it. This is my rough notes
Sure.
that I wanted to make sure that I'm covering. And all the Quranic references and everything is here. So Imam continues, at Ghadir home, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I'm leaving behind me two things, which will continue till the day of judgment and will remain together till Hawz Kausar. The Prophet continued, what are those two things? They are my progeny. The Panchtan Pak, Ali Murtaza, and the chain of the light of Imamat, a guide, a living and speaking guide, and the book. Just like all other Natiqeen have left a book, but they also left the light and the speaking guide. Quran itself criticizes those who hold on to the book but did not hold to the light, the nur of Allah that came with the book. Allah criticized in the Quran of the people of the book that they have the book, but where is the light? And that criticism goes all the way back to Adam, and that criticism goes all the way forward till the time of Qiyamah. Same criticism in the Quran is for the people of the Quran. That sadly, my people, says Prophet Muhammad, have broken the Quran in the pieces. How can you break the Quran in the pieces? Not physically, but you took the silent book, the written book, the tanzil of the Quran, and you left and broke away from the speaking book, the Nur, the guide of the Quran. That's how they broke the Quran. And let's not criticize them. Always look in your own self. Are we holding on to two things? Let's be fair. Are we holding on to the Nur, the light, the guide, the Imam, and the book, the Quran? Remember, it's not about them, it's all about us. Both these things will continue till the day of judgment. So if we are following on this Faramin, then we should be understanding that there are two things. One is the living and speaking book. One is the written and the silent book. Someone had asked one time, which is more important? And which one can we use to understand the other? And there is a written article on that. The Noor-e-Imam, Noor-e-Imamat, is required to understand the Quran. And we had that demonstration yesterday. How important it is to have the Faramin and the Noor-e-Imam so we can find the Imam in the Quran so we may understand Imam. And then you need the Quran to understand Imam. They are lazim wa malzoom, required for each other. One cannot have the recognition of the Imam without the Quran. One cannot understand the Quran without the Imam. And therefore, they both must remain together until the end of the time. Now, let's come a little bit more further in our understanding. Nuran Allah Nur, Imam have come and they have given the Faramin. Even after 1400 years, we still read the Kalame Mola Ali. What is Kalame Mola Ali? The saying and the Faramin of Mola Ali. We still read them. They are still current to us today. We have the Faramin, not of all of the Imam, but the Faramin of some of the Imam. Whichever Faramin we have available, they are current until the Imam of the time says otherwise. You understand this part? The Faramin of the Imams remains current, relevant, until the Imam of the time says otherwise. And there are many examples of the two Faramins from one Imam to the other. If Imam of the time gives a Farman which overrides the previous Farman of himself or the previous Imam, then that farman will no longer be relevant or current. But until then, and I just gave the example of the Kalam-e-Maula Ali, Faramin of Imam Jafar Sadiq, Faramin of Imam Muslim Sibillah, which are available to us, Faramin of Hasan Ali Shah Mabab, Faramin of Ali Shah Mabab, Faramin of Sultan Muhammad Shah, Faramin of Shah Karim al-Husseini, all relevant, along with Faramin of the Imam of the time, Nur Mawlana Shah Rahim al-Husseini, Hazar Imam. So when we are looking for guidance, for an example, if you are looking for the Faramin of Betul Khyal, where would you find those Farman? As Shah Rahim have not given us a Farman of the Betul Khyal. Shah Rahim have not given us Farman of the Chandrat Madlas. Shah Rahim have not given us Farman of the Panch Bar Sal Madlas. Shah Rahim has not given us Farman of the Life Madlas, Fidai Madlas, Nurani Madlas, 1-4 Madlas, any Madlas. Until then, the Faramin of the Shah Karim, Shah Sultan Muhammad Shah, any Farman of the any Imam of the past, just like Quran. In the Quran, you will find the ayat which overrides and rejects other ayat given earlier. This is how the ilm and the understanding of the Faramin works. And remember, this 2 session was totally and completely on the subject of the need of the Imam and the Farman. And then within that, we talked about the Imam of all time and Imam of the current time, our beloved Imam Shah Rahim al-Husseini. If we look at the Farman of the Shah Rahim, and if you do a little bit close personal search, you will find how Shah Rahim have spoken about the Tawheed of Allah, the oneness of Allah, the message of the Prophet Muhammad, the necessity and the Tawil of Mawla Ali, the messages of all of the Natiqeen. He had spoken about Shah Sultan Muhammad Shah and his Faramin. He spoken about Shah Karim and his Faramin. We, the lover of the Imam and lover of the Ilm, we have to take the Faramin collectively, because one Farman may have little bit guidance, another Farman would have more further guidance, and the next Farman and the next Farman and the next Farman after that may have further and further guidance. If you take only one Farman, the very Farman which was supposed to guide you now will confuse you. And look at 40 Faramins within last 1 year, from the July to July of Shah Rahim's 1.5 year period. how he has guided, you have to take all those 40 combinedly to get a full message. And remember, more message is coming every day. Meaning more Farman will come tomorrow, and the more Farman will come the next day, and the next week, and next month, and next year. And when we read this Faramin, we must understand the total of the guidance, total message. Don't limit yourself to the one Farman or the one paragraph or the one line. Because if you do that, you yourself will confuse you and misguide yourself. Because Imam guides according to the time and the place. So Farman from Pakistan would be different than the Farman, let's say, in London, Paris, Africa, Canada, USA. And now Imam is about to go to India. Tomorrow, may Imam come back to USA or may come back to Pakistan or may go back to the Europe or other countries, Australia, wherever he would go. And whatever Farman he will give, that would be the continuation of the Faramin he have given in the past. And this is how we can remain on the Sirat al-Mustaqim by the guide and the guidance of the Imam of the time. And that is the need and that is the necessity of the Imam and his Faramin in every age and every time. So with that, I will stop here. And this concludes our two-day sessions on the Imam and the Farman. Thank you all for listening attentively and thank you for joining and paying attention to it. Ji.